Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very special but also pretty mundane 1-year anniversary episode of Truth Noir. We're very happy about this. I didn't make it. I didn't think we would make it past like 2 episodes, and here we are at almost 45 or something. Been doing this every week. The only reason why we don't have 52 actual episodes is because we took 6 weeks to read the Constitution, and I'm not done editing it yet. So that'll be coming up soon. But yeah, it's been a really fun trip. Anyone who's watching right now, thank you very much for watching and continuing to watch. Everyone that is watching the show on YouTube, everyone from, like, I never thought I would say it, but like around the world that has seen this, thanks for watching. Please keep it up. And also I wanted to take a minute to thank a few people who have been well-wishers of the show since like before it existed. One of them is my friend and compatriot, fellow contributor to the show, Mr. Dirk Beecham. He's right there.
Hello.
As he has usually been for the last little bit now. He's, I think, the first episode you did with me was like maybe episode number 5 or something. So that was very early on in the show. And so, so Dirk, Adam Papigan, who is the host of our sister show here right before my time slot, which is There's a Place, the ASMR talk show, the only one of its kind that I know of that exists, has also guest hosted with me a number of times. Vince Eckert, who has been involved in a number of projects, not only on Dronebox, but just all over the place. So thank you, Vince. Who else? Steve Moshny, who has been coming on occasionally. All of the Bible and prophecy stuff that we've been talking about, he's always helped me put that together and been a great source of insight for that. Who else? Tom Stenberg, very good musician and fellow free thinker and all-around good guy. He was on early on in the show and helped out quite a bit. And, oh my goodness, I know I'm forgetting someone. Who am I forgetting, Dirk?
Which one was the atheist televangelist?
That was Mr. Sean Humphreys. He did a couple shows with me. The most viewed episode on YouTube of mine was the one we did with Sean Humphreys. Thank you for reminding me. That was when there was the first kind of talk about the star that was giving off anomalous variability in brightness. And the only logical conclusion as far as this show is concerned that there was, of course, a giant alien megastructure around it that was interfering with that. So, but yeah, just I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to help me out with the show and help put it together, and to just come on and talk to me about all the stuff that I want to talk about. And once again, thanks to all of you for listening, and hopefully maybe thinking about catching something in all of those episodes that maybe you hadn't thought about before. So
that's what this show is all about. Thinking.
Yeah. So, it's been a really fun ride, and we're showing no signs of stopping. So, like it or not, you're stuck with us for a while.
Yeah. So it's a good thing, and your show's getting more and more popular.
Yeah, a little bit by bit.
We even, I remember you were telling me just a few weeks ago, we're starting to get hits from people watching from as far away from India. So we're getting out there.
Yep, and that is all the way around the world.
Yeah. So, and if you have any questions, you can either send them to us either through YouTube themselves. You can message there, or you can come to dronebox.com and message through there. It's a very easy way to sign up. Just put your email address and a little password.
Yeah,
and
we're
then
able
you can
to
just
do.
Start,
we're able to do live chat on the show
Yes.
now. I can't type messages back to you, but I will see what people's replies are in real time. So,
and we'd love to hear anything. And of course, this is one of these shows where we're not a puff piece. I mean, if you got something to say and you want to say, "Hey, we don't like what you have to say," or "We don't agree with you,"
yep, that's
we're
more
here.
than welcome to.
Yeah, that's what the show's all about. So let us have it, good or bad. And
let's see, where else are we? We got a Facebook page, called Truth Noir Official. The Real Truth Noir on Instagram. We're on Twitter as @BritGreenwood because I don't know how to change my Twitter handle. But
that's weird. Yeah, might have to be another one.
So yeah, but
I think that's it. Yeah, it's weird.
But yeah, any of those social media outlets, we'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas for the show, if you want to come on the show, if you just want to hang out one of these days, let us know. Send us a message. I will send you a gift in the mail. I don't know what it'll be, but
maybe it'll be from the show's previous guest. Like a little hemp sucker or something.
Hemp, or a pair of socks.
Yeah, or hemp socks.
A Beanie Baby.
Yeah.
Maybe a book.
Or one of Adam's classic internet discount store sweaters. He wears them very well.
That could be also.
Yeah, they're thin and they're relatively new. So
lightly worn.
Lightly worn.
Very lightly worn. Yes. Anyways. But so happy 1 year anniversary to us. Yay! And so we'll keep coming at you with more stuff, and thanks for watching once again. So all of that aside, we did have something of an episode to talk about. We're going to rehash some of the things we've learned over the last year, both on the technical side and in the stuff that we've presented on the show, and we got a couple new things too.
We always have a few things in the news. This is should Harvard be free? And there's a very good case to Harvard should not charge tuition.
Right, and we're seeing more of a trend these days with many colleges providing free online courses.
So because it kind of straps the poor students, and Harvard doesn't really need it. Harvard. Its annual investment income is 25 times larger than its net tuition revenue. So it wouldn't really miss if it got to the tuition out. But it would help the students tremendously because a lot of them takes years to pay off that tuition.
Right.
So it would be a great benefit and not hardly any of a loss to Harvard. A lot of people don't realize this, but Harvard makes $38 billion a year, and it's tax exempt because it's a college, so it's considered kind of like a charity. So it runs the category. So it's a big moneymaker. Also, Yale is very similar too to this. So, but it costs $180,000 for tuition.
That's per year?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so it really straps the students, and it just seems to be kind of unfair. So, anyway.
But that being said, there are plenty of free online courses that from various schools around the country that you can look into, and so yeah, it's
yeah. So anyway. That's and so anyway. This spring they voted in what's called a board of overseers. It's where and they alumni are allowed to vote in it. So there's 320,000 holders of Harvard degrees that will vote in to pick the overseers. The overseers don't have a lot of power, But they
what do they do? That sounds like a pretty official title.
But they do have they can bring things to the Harvard and say we would like this, and of course their agenda will be for the free tuition, and so anyway, they want to do that, and of course it's and one of the alumni is of course my hero Ralph Nader.
Oh my goodness!
Oh boy. He rears his
Ralph Nader's a Harvard alumni, huh?
Yep, he is. And so he's trying to get on as an overseer to help spearhead that, him and a guy called Ron Unz. So U-N-Z. But Anyway, so that's one of the things in the news. And another thing in the news is, did you hear about that, the ghost ship? I got some ghost ship pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Or you want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. Go through them one at a time.
Okay.
This is an example of one of our really stupid memes that
I get from my right wing friends on Facebook.
They look official.
I copy, I right click, and I say picture as, and because I have a collection of them.
Now this is actually somewhat. I like this as an example of the way media spins information in such a way that even though they are putting actual numbers out there, they're spinning it to mean the opposite of what that information actually represents. Yeah. And we'll go ahead and read it. It says, picture of polar bears. When Al Gore was born, there were only 7,000 of us, meaning polar bears. Today, only 30,000 remain.
Yeah,
and so it's that kind of
trying to bash Al Gore.
It's that kind of backward speak where you're saying as an insult,
insulting the liberals.
Yeah, but then
and the environmentalists.
But then the numbers represent that the polar bear population has increased
tremendously, and it's doing fine, and it's not being affected at all by global warming or any other oil drilling or all the other things.
It's one of those things beware of stuff like this because there's a lot of misrepresentation out there. And one example of this that I have seen is I've seen screenshots that people take when they find kind of anomalous stuff on the news, especially with this most recent election season that we're observing, where it will, this is with regard to state primaries, where there are delegates being pledged based on the popular vote of a state. And they'll show that, Bernie Sanders, for example, has, more of the popular vote, and somehow, but somehow more delegates are being pledged to Clinton.
Yeah.
And
there was 5 major states. They were just talking about that last week. There was 5 major states that he probably could have won, New York being one of them, if they didn't have this antiquated thing where they block independents from voting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I know that happens in a few states.
California is one of the many states that 15, 20 years ago switched from that system to where anybody can vote in a primary. And you don't have to be in that party. So, which was like a sneaky way of blocking people out. Mm-hmm. But New York and several other major states still have that. So while Bernie was the most popular, the independent vote didn't count in the Democratic end of the primary.
Right.
So he lost 5 major states that he wouldn't have probably lost. At least 4 or 5 of them he would have carried them. So he so it's a lot of delegates, and so not only were they not counting the popular vote, so he even lost popular vote there, not to mention all the delegates, so it's
right.
And then there's this weird thing about in other states where she's been getting a lot of delegates, and it's kind of unclear how she got more delegates than him, even though he would get more popular votes. So it's really kind of funny system, and I don't really think we need it anymore. And it's they're trying to push her down our throats, and it's funny because even Donald Trump sympathizes with Bernie because they try to do the same thing on the Republican side with him. Only he wiggled out of it, but
Well, yeah, like I think Trump does that thing where he's like such a bombastic shithead that it's like you can't really argue that. Like you can't sling mud at someone who's already,
Yeah.
just out there running his mouth all the time.
Yeah. And then also what helped with him was Republicans just kind of just stay with Republicans. They don't really splinter apart to where a liberal would, if he's not going to be Democrat, he's going to be an independent, or he's going to be Green Party or something like that.
Yeah.
So when they went into certain states, and Ted Cruz was favored also by the establishment. He was like their version of Hillary on the right side.
Right.
Ted Cruz was the one that the bankers wanted the most. Let's be honest. That's who really wants these people. But they really couldn't lock out. They were doing the miscount in the beginning where, Don was getting more popular votes. Ted Cruz was somehow magically getting more delegates. But then, as time went on, there was no major states that they could lock him out of like they could with Bernie, because
Well, yeah, I mean, there's only a certain point to which you can tamper with the voting.
Yeah, and then also
before people start being like, no, I voted for this person. I voted for this person too.
Yeah,
we all voted for this person. How did this happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So. Anyway, I don't know, but Bernie might have a chance, but
well, we'll see. And I mean, I don't know.
Oh, they had a thing on YouTube that was great about Bernie. They showed celebrities for Bernie, and there were all these celebrities. And on Hillary's side, except for
George Clooney,
there's really nobody on her side. I mean, Bernie you could go to YouTube and just look up celebrities for Bernie Sanders. It was this Danny DeVito and Sarah Silverman and just all these stars just were, so anyway.
Yeah. So what else did you find for us, Derek?
Well,
what's up with this picture here?
Oh, I got some ghost ship pictures. I was getting ghost ship pictures because there was a real ghost ship that hit the coast.
Let's make that full screen.
All right.
If we can.
Yeah. We have the young Ben in there, and he's a fine young man, our control room guy, and along with Lewis and Nolan. Anyway, so that's just a picture of the Flying Dutchman.
Oh, there we go.
And this is an old ship that was abandoned a few years ago, ghost ship that just ran ashore. And doesn't it look good?
Yeah. So we're basically just dumping garbage.
Yeah. Well, isn't the oceans our giant toilet?
I guess. I heard that there's a giant floating massive trash in the Pacific Ocean that's almost like the size of Texas or something like that.
Yeah. It is.
Because of the way the ocean currents go, it kind of funnels all of the debris into this one area.
They had a big article in the LA Times back in 2007, and it was a several-day article, Monday through Friday. It was a 5-day long article, and it was just talked about the state of the oceans, and one of them was the plastic in there. And so there's these two big swirls, and a lot of, especially sailors, that people that use sailboats never go through them because there's the doldrums in there.
Right.
But there was a guy who went. He was in a boating thing, and he decided to cut through even though there was going to be no air, and he decided to just go on engine power. And he was a billionaire. And he saw all this trash. So he went to California, and he noticed that there's one area where there's these, by La Habra, where a lot of train stations meet. Plastic will fall off, and it'll eventually make it into storm drains and wash out there. So he said he was amazed that the difficulty was to try to talk these businesses into stop spilling so much plastic off the edge of your train. And he goes, well, it's going to the ocean. And they go,
Meh.
They don't see the ocean from the harbor. They don't care. It's
Right.
like, and then it does float out there, and then it goes into these swirls. And they tested, and they found some plastic that's as old as World War II, and it varies at different levels. And what it is one of the swirls will move like a blob, and Hawaii is like a triangle, or not, excuse me, like a slant. Like here's Midway, and then all the other islands, and then the big island.
Right.
Well, on the bottom of the island, the swirl will sometimes touch it. And they talked even back in the old days, where ancient days, where Hawaiian kings would get good pine and cedar that would come from a major storm from the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they would take that, and they would make furniture and stuff out of it, and that would be there for the royalty in Hawaii, because it was such a rare wood that didn't exist actually on
where
Hawaii.
they were. Yeah.
So, but anyway, when you go to that beach, and most of the population of even though the population has been exploding on the Big Island, it used to be very unpopulated just back in the 70s, but now it's growing a lot. It's still more than the northern end. Well, the southern end, where there's not a lot of people, they still have to go and every week they have to scrape all this plastic off. But the guy said, he goes, but we don't get everything. And it showed a picture of this guy's hands, and he had sand, and there's grains of plastic all through the sand. So most of the grains of the beach are now plastic grains.
Oh, wow.
So what's going on with our oceans is that all levels, from even plankton all the way up to larger animals like whales and stuff, but everybody, no matter what your position is in the ocean and what your size is, eats a little plastic.
Right, yeah.
And that's disturbing.
Well, yeah, and when you consider that we've been producing plastics for about 100 years now.
Yeah,
and
but we really started hitting in earnest starting in the 40s.
Sure. So 70 going on 80 years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go anywhere.
No.
I mean, yeah,
no.
you can recycle it and reform it and do more of that, but there is so much that is
and nowadays
ecosystem.
People like countries like the United States and Western Europe, obviously, I don't know where Japan is, but I'm sure obviously China and India are much farther behind. But the United States and Western Europe started doing this thing a couple of decades ago, and that was this. For since the 40s up till now, plastic was basically inert. It was so stable that it would last for decades, and it would float. It would be exposed to sunlight and seawater, and still just keep floating.
Right.
And just not break down. And that was the horrible thing. Nowadays, we make a lot of plastics we make cannot last very long. The minute they get either ultraviolet light on them, or especially some kind of seawater, whether they're plastic milk cartons or whatever, they begin to dissolve, and they're made to dissolve back into separate molecules and go back into the environment. So that's the good thing. And so we need to make sure that the rest of the world does the same thing. In other words, your milk carton holds just as good as it did before. It's just now that if it made it in the ocean, it's going to dissolve.
Right.
And so more and more things are trying to make dissolve within, like, say, 6 months or so. So that would be the good thing. And then, of course, we need to recycle more than we do. And we need to just stop putting it in there, too.
Well, yeah.
Because it's a hazard, even if it's going to take 6 months. At least it's not taking decades, but still.
And there's a lot of things that are so easy to do, using reusable bags at your grocery store. I remember when they first started phasing out plastic, and this was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they still provide it in most grocery stores in America, but I know in a lot in Europe, they've had no disposable bags at all. Bring your own containers to take your stuff out in. And that's huge. That's reduced landfill you know, product for, you know, by quite a bit. Your disposable coffee cups, like,
oh yeah,
yeah, they're fun, but I mean, if you're a person like me who drinks like 5 or 6 cups of coffee in a day,
yeah,
and everyone in your office at work did that, like, you fill up an entire trash bag just with those.
oh yeah.
And you think about offices, all of, you know, I mean, it's just, it's all of that stuff. That
Yeah,
just
which reminds me, I need to
builds up.
start carrying, start using a reusable cup.
Yeah, it's little stuff, and it's all that little stuff that keeps so much stuff out of the, you know, out of the environment in general. If more people just did it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what else? What else we got here?
Here's some more pictures of the ghost ship. Here's the most recent ghost ship. It was a tanker, a small tanker. I don't know, it carried maybe, who knows, probably not even 1 million barrels in there. Maybe 500,000 barrels of stuff in there. And so they abandoned it. It was a Portuguese company, and they turned off its transponder because large ships of that size and larger need to have a thing that constantly lets the world know where it's at.
Right.
And they turned that off, and then they abandoned it. and then a couple weeks later, it ran aground on the shores of Nigeria. So, but when you look at the deck of the ship, there was I don't think I have any pictures of that. But I had some other pictures where you saw the deck was so dilapidated. It was more than just a couple weeks of I mean, the ship hadn't been maintained or painted in years. So they were already planning on abandoning this ship years ago.
Yeah, they're just like,
yeah, because the corrosion that was on the deck was at a point where it wouldn't have just got there in a short time. And so they were already planning on they were going to just run it until it, you know, it got to a certain point that it wouldn't run anymore, and then they abandoned
they just let it run adrift,
and then they turned off its transponder, which was interesting. And then they, so I don't know what's going to happen to those people, that company.
Yeah, because
it's a faux pas. But when I was reading the article in the news, seems like they weren't really going to go after them. It was like it was a faux pas, and besides, it didn't really run into Europe; it ran into Nigeria. And who really gives a crap about Nigeria? It was kind of like an attitude.
It's one of those sad things that there's certain places in the world that if something happens there, it doesn't get any attention and it doesn't get cleaned up.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
But so there's still. I mean, obviously we weren't able to solve all the world's problems. In the year that this show has been going on, I'm a little bummed about that.
We tried.
I had such high hopes, Dirk.
We tried. Yeah. But my hopes are is we got to get more people to just call in and tell us what you want, what you don't want. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can. I forgot to put that on my Facebook page. I advertised the show, but I forgot to put on, if you want to be a guest on the show, there's a ways you can contact us.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys got something to say.
Yeah.
If you want to sit where Dirk's sitting and talk shit to me, you can.
Yeah, we'll flash an email next week. Like I said, you can either message us through YouTube, though you might need to set up an account. But a regular email is we'll get one ready. I have one, a spare one.
Plans for the new year.
But we'll talk about it.
Okay, cool.
And that'll be for the public. And you just write in and just say, hey, I want to be on the show. Or I hate what you guys said on this show. One episode, I just hate it. Let us have it, because that's what this is all about. This is here. We're going to hash things out. And we'll go, because that's what it's all about. And
I mean, just in doing research for the show for previous episodes, I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
Some of it fun, most of it disturbing.
Yeah.
but it's been a really cool process.
Yeah. So, but and that swirl is interesting. And then there's another swirl that between the Japanese
ocean currents now.
Yeah, the plastic swirls, and then the one that's in between Hawaii and Japan is a little bit farther north, and it goes in the opposite direction. But every now and then it'll move and it'll kiss Midway, which is the northernmost island of Hawaii.
Right. Yeah.
And then that's also just covered in trash.
Well, yeah, and then they used to do like nuclear testing in a bunch of those places.
Now, the nuclear testing they didn't do near Hawaii, though.
Well, that was more South Pacific.
Yeah,
right? But
much more remote.
There's places that we bombed into being completely...
let me tell you a little bit about that. I got a thing I heard about Bikini Island. We bombed that place twice with nuclear bombs. First with atomic weapons, and then with hydrogen weapons that were 10 times bigger. And it was funny because you could see it blow up, and then it would be a ship that would be, pretty large size. And then they had one where it was like a much bigger bomb, and so they had to be a lot farther away. And you see this little ship, and it would just knock over an old battleship. That's how they got rid of their battleships at the same time. Anyway, they finally went back there about 20 years ago. It was about 2000, so maybe 16 years ago. And they went back, and they were shocked because it was quarantined. No human beings were allowed to go around that island since the 1950s. They went back, and the island and the reef around it was doing great. It's doing a lot better than any of the other islands around that have a lot of people around it.
Right, yeah, because there weren't humans around for the last 60 years. So
there's one thing that's worse for an ecosystem than nuclear bombs, and that is just people.
And that is
just people swimming and pissing and motorboating and just bullshitting around kills more animals. They went to, they went to Kiev, and they sent robots in there, and that city has been abandoned since the early 1980s. And that diversity, they found certain types of animals, and they even found certain types of wolves and bears, and they don't know how those animals got there because they're isolated, they're surrounded by city, but no one was allowed to go in there. And when the forest kind of retook over that Kiev, there's all these rich diversity of animals. And even with a higher rate of birth defects amongst the animals, they're doing far better without having any people around than a city that's just not having any radiation, but just hustle and bustle, and there's cars driving and kids, blowing snot rockets around, and it's just, animals just don't really do well around people, and it's just amazing that they were just so amazed at the diversity around these areas of the earth that were abandoned.
Yeah,
and just animals just adapted better with poisonous radiation than they did with just people. People actually, and many times trying to avoid and not hurt the animals. It wasn't like people were hunting these animals. These animals still died just by you being there. By you driving a car through their house every all the time.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember, and I know if, I don't know if Vice is like a great, journalistic endeavor, but I remember the one.
Oh, Nolan hates it.
I know Nolan hates Vice.
Yeah, I've enjoyed a few good episodes from it.
I just think you can't really take it too seriously. I mean, when you're going to send a correspondent to the middle of the Congo to look for a dinosaur,
yeah,
the last living dinosaur on Earth, because you heard a story about it, like that's just a fun time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it, great journalism, but I remember the one where they went to Chernobyl into the red zone, and not, they don't call it red because
it's communist.
Communist. It's because of the super high levels of radiation there. But they were thinking that there would be mutant animals, and so they went and with assault rifles to hunt the mutant animals of Chernobyl.
Mm.
And as an added kick, and this is what I love about Vice, one of the things that they found, and not Vice didn't find this out, but that the first responders to Chernobyl found kind of as like by accident, because the stuff that they saw was so terrible. A lot of them, they were probably fairly heavy drinkers. I mean, if the old stereotype of Russians holds any water, but they drank a lot. Their alcohol consumption was higher than average, and as an added side effect, that helped neutralize a lot of the radiation that they were exposed to. And so the Vice crew just got completely blasted on vodka and ran around the Chernobyl countryside with assault rifles to hunt mutant animals.
Wow. I didn't hear about that.
And, I strive.
Is this like a recent thing? Are they getting more? It seems like
this
a
was
year ago.
Probably about 10 years ago or something like that.
Oh, Vice been around that long?
Yeah, I've been around for a while.
Wow, the HBO show.
I don't know about the HBO show, but they did produce their own video log, on assignment.
Like a year ago or so, I saw some pretty good stuff, and but I forgot what I saw on Vice. It was pretty good, pretty well done. But anyway.
So, what else is going on in the world, Dirk? I know eventually, before election season really gets kicked off and is at its most annoying fever pitch, I want to analyze the candidates that are left after they're mostly eliminated.
Well, I guess we're also voting for certain congressmen too.
Yep, that's also coming up.
We should talk about that, because those are always the unsung heroes or the unsung villains, and they're always the most forgot about, but they're the ones that actually affect us more than presidents do. Because they're the ones that are going to pass the minimum wage and make and by how much, and everything else like that.
Yeah, and they're sneaky too. You can't, you as a citizen can't propose a bill or lobby your congressman to write legislation without them adding something terrible to it.
Yeah,
it's like, we're gonna write something cool into the legislation, and then they'll put all of these little line items in there that are just detrimental.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't really understand it too much.
But one thing I definitely want to do in the with this first part of the new Truth Noir year is to kind of take a look at all of the third-party candidates, because there's more than two. Obviously, there's more than two now, but as far as from third-party candidates, the Libertarians have someone running. The Green Party has people running. The Peace and Freedom Party has people running.
Yeah.
And all of these people are, guess what, not allowed to participate in the presidential candidate debates. That's kind of weird.
That is weird. And you can't say, well, there's too many people, because when, back several months ago when they had the Democrats and Republicans, they had, half a dozen people up there. 8 or 9 or 10 people up there, and they seem to handle those debates. So why can't we have something like that? That's and they have these weird rules where they block out any third party candidate. He has to get say, for example, for next year, if the Green Party wanted to be considered a third party and get on for the debates, and say in 2004. Ralph Nader, who was in the Green Party back in 2000, would have had to win 10% of the votes. Well, it's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Then, because he didn't get 10%, then the next year that party doesn't get to speak in the debates.
Right, exactly.
And the independent, nobody wins the 10% because they're, and it sets this mystique up that, well, you're throwing away a vote. But it's a mystique that exists. If you think about it, it's actually absurd. Hey, I should vote for who I want to. I shouldn't be considered. Why should I be told? And of course, who gives us that idea? It's the other two parties,
right?
That somehow you can vote for whoever you want, but that's
but one of us is going to win anyways.
Yeah, and most countries have 3 to 5 major parties, and so this weird thing we have this 2-party, and I don't know.
Well, the example I heard, or the argument that I heard as to why having more than 2 parties is bad is because, and they use the example of, well, that's how Hitler got into power. Because, and one of his more famous speeches was, one of Hitler's more famous speeches was where he was talking about how there's so many political parties and there are so many candidates to choose from, that the one who gets into office, with maybe 10% of the popular vote, because the voting is spread out between so many people, that person surely can't represent the desires and the wants of the nation at large.
But look at Western Europe now, or Australia. They have more than 2 parties, and they're doing just as fine. When
you look at Iceland,
it's an argument that doesn't make sense.
I like the Icelanders. They have the pirate party.
Are you going to go to Iceland this year?
I want to, if the price is right, if I can afford airfare.
Yeah.
I need to find.
What month were you going to go?
I had heard a while back that there was an airline that was going to be newly flying out of, I believe it was LA and San Francisco, and they were supposed to be offering $99 flights to Iceland.
Wow!
And I was like, that's the right price for me.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, and if they're still offering that,
we're gonna have to talk to somebody about
anyone that wants to go to Iceland, I can swing airfare for a couple of you.
Are you going to take the young Ben with you? I think he needs a nice, healthy, blonde woman with medical insurance that wants to.
We're looking for anchor wives in Iceland.
Yeah,
Godspeed the day.
Yeah.
But I fly me somewhere for $99. I'm there. So.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
As soon as I hear something about it, I'll set a long weekend aside and plan it out.
Okay, or maybe a week?
Strictly for Truth Noir research, of course.
Not for.
We're not going to be having fun. We're just going to be going to museums,
jumping on tall, blonde Amazonian women on a volcano.
And watching the Northern Lights.
Yeah, I'll lay on the bottom and she can be on top. That way I can see the lights and partake of the.
Well, yeah, man.
Of the bountiful.
However you all decide you want to do it.
The bountifulness.
I don't judge.
Yeah,
but
I hear the rumbling of the volcano below me. Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, with that being said, I think we're going to resolve the evening for its best possible tidings. So, you guys, thanks for watching again. However many of you are watching right now, thank you guys especially. And
tell your friends.
Yeah, do that, what he said. And, also, once again, I want to thank Dirk, Adam, Steve Moshny, Ben Racinios does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. He's the one switching the camera angles for us tonight because our tablet broke. Who else? Lewis and Nolan Silverstein, the ones who run the company here. Oh, and Ashley, she does a lot of stuff too. Who else? Everyone who is guest hosted with me. Lots of love. So, you guys take care. We'll catch you next time. Wherever you're going, get there safe. Peace.